Welcome to Queer Coded Country, where yeehaw meets yes queen.
A podcast about growing up in the South and realizing that it's pretty dang queer. I'm Tucker.
And I'm Hunter.
And can I just say, that's another Arkansas Razorback first down.
Shut the fuck up right now with that. Woo pig.
Woo
We're
pig
back.
suey. You've
We've
got that hog
addressed
in you.
that. This is the hog in me hat. I thought it would be a real nice treat to bring it out since it seemed to be a fun little thing that people really liked, having the hog in them.
I know. Speaking of which, how's your mom and them?
Bitch.
Yeah.
Well, my biological mother is good,
Great.
as always.
Same.
But also, like, how I've fucking been emotional.
Same.
Like, obviously, we've been working on this podcast, and recently, like last week, I don't even remember the day, working that hard. It was released to the world.
I know.
And
for all to see, for all to listen.
Yes. And all of you out there listening and cheering us on and sending sweet messages, like literally, I sobbed.
I know.
Sobbed.
I got super emotional too. It's just really fun, especially to hear from corners of your world that you didn't think you would hear from, especially when you're talking and not necessarily critiquing, but just like talking about your experience for people who have never knew what your experience was.
Yeah. Well, on the flip side, like talking to people that didn't know the experience and like their curiosity, but then also reconnecting with people that lived it with me or with us. Like, I feel like it has created this opportunity to have a lot of hard conversations.
Yeah.
Or maybe not even hard conversations, but like conversations that I didn't have the tools to have.
Shed new light.
Yeah. And like be able to speak on things. And like, honestly, sometimes like I've heard from people too, where it's like, yeah, I probably hurt you in this process of, you know, coming out and shedding all of my queer roots. And like, I, you know, never meant to hurt these people. And at the time, I just didn't, you know, I wasn't equipped to have those conversations. I was like literally full speed ahead to like, how do I get out? And so, yeah, it's just been like overwhelming. Is that such a like
overwhelming
cliche
response?
Yeah.
Well, the pageant queen in me just really wants to thank everyone who's listening, and we really care. But to your point, I had someone reach out to me and they were like, I had no idea that Baby Tucker was thinking like this, and you deserve Miss Holiday, Miss Arkansas County,
bitch,
all of it.
That is going to be, we're going to go back. You're going to get the Miss Holiday title.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Exactly.
No, it has really been amazing. And it's also like, you know, part of the fun of it, even for us as we have been building this, is like taking a look back at those experiences and at that life. And one of the things that we quickly realized is that, girl, we were always in business casual.
Where were we going?
I mean, you would think that we were going to a goddamn job interview the way that I was always in like khaki slacks and
Well,
like,
honey, I kept J. Crew in business. Let me tell you.
Didn't you work at the Gap?
I did work at the Gap. The Gap and J. Crew. No, they're different.
Oh,
but
okay.
Similar
Sorry
vibes.
to Gap and J. Crew.
Similar vibes, but it is just so funny to look back and think like, at that time when we became friends during our college era, staying in business casual and staying in the rolled up shirts.
Unrecognizable.
Oh, it is
unrecognizable.
hilarious.
I literally, the Patagonia vest.
Oh my God.
Wore the shit out of that.
Oh my God. I had a Patagonia pullover that I like still wear to this day. So,
I mean, also, do you remember where like oftentimes we would get dressed and be in like the same thing? Because it was like the slightly gay version of what everyone else was wearing.
Exactly. Which I kind of think that's why it was like business casual, is like everybody else was like a little more like, it was a little more prep, I guess. I was like, let me put a prep flair on it in order to be a little bit distinguishable.
I specifically remember we had that red checker, like gingham shirt or whatever.
Absolutely. Or like the quilted vest.
Oh God, the vest. Yeah. I mean, but really, we were just trying to fit in.
Yeah.
We were trying to be what we saw around us.
Which was frat boys.
Literally,
Greek
speak
life.
on it, say it. Here
frat
we are.
Boys.
Yeah, literally, frat, which is what we're talking about today, which is like such a mind fuck in so many ways, like truly so many ways. And like the evolution of my relationship to Greek life or associations with it.
I mean, that was the world we were living in. And that was like what was shaping my entire worldview was like, if I get into a frat, what it's going to be like, how do I assimilate to the frat culture before I get into a frat?
Oh my God.
And all of that. Like it really was like the worldview that I had at that time.
Well, because we went to University of Arkansas, Hog in us, Arkansas Gazerbacks, which we now own so proudly. But yeah, I mean, we were literally just trying to do what everyone around us was doing. And it like probably some of the most terrifying moments in my life, which is what we're going to dive into today.
But Greek life is such a huge, it's a part of like college culture in general, but I would say in the South, it is so intense in terms of like what it takes to get into a fraternity or a sorority, or like what you need to do leading up to like make sure that you're polished and your social media is scrubbed. Well,
hello, rush talk. Yeah, hello.
I mean, my OOTD.
Oh my God,
for like, pref night.
Literally, bitch. Like, okay, we're like already spiraling on all of these thoughts, and we're gonna go there. But I really so like with Greek life and like talking about it, there's one specific thing that has been, I was about to quote Wicked, a tattoo on my heart. Like literally a tattoo on my heart.
This is very appropriate.
Literally a tattoo on my fucking heart is that being rejected from a frat, newsflash, spoiler alert, babes, we didn't join.
We didn't make the cut.
We didn't get in. We didn't make it. But we formed our own little tradition. And I feel like we have to share because it was insane. So to set the stage, every year there was Row Week.
Yes.
And actually I don't even like, was it because it was on Fraternity Row? Was that why they called it Row Week? I don't even think I know.
I don't know the like origin of like why it's called that, but essentially. I don't know if
we want to dig into the origin because we'll probably find things we don't want to know.
Exactly. We won't like that. But it was this thing that all the fraternities did at Arkansas, and they basically held a week where on the weekend they had these themed parties at each of the fraternities, and they would bring some kind of musical act or rapper or country singer or folk artist to their fraternity house and have like a day party.
Artists?
Well, I was reaching with that. I was reaching with that.
Girl.
Honey, the bookers at the frats, you don't know what they could
find. Yes. Okay. And then also, so for those of you that are not familiar with SEC schools, these are mansions, like huge ass houses, and they would build fences around them and like set up the stage. I think the only one I ever went to was Girl Talk, which was like kind of gay.
That's a good one.
Lambda Chi.
Like a little
I was vibing.
Yeah.
Well, you know who I went with.
Who?
Garrett.
Oh, okay.
So they build the fences. There are these huge parties. And there was like maybe a list. I don't know. I have had a lot of drinks since then. But we essentially were like kind of left out of that.
Yeah.
Because one, scary.
Invite
only. And so before there was Queer Coded Country Podcast, there was the Daily Flush.
Yes.
And the Daily Flush. Okay. I've been obsessed with reality TV since I was a young buck. Young kid watching The Real World San Diego before I ever should have been watching MTV.
Oh my God, I loved Real World San Diego.
And, oh my God, Cameron.
Hello. I mean, yes.
Southern Charm. All of the dots.
Yeah.
All roads lead to Bravo. So anyway, when we lived together senior year, I set up a confessional booth in my bathroom.
What was the camera? A flip cam?
It was the flip cam. Oh my God, the flip cam. The little thing. And I hung a shelf.
Yeah.
Probably my dad hung the shelf.
Yeah.
And had it propped up and like used my toilet as a confessional and called it the Daily Flush.
Yes.
Specifically, sometimes you would join the Daily Flush. And that is where Broadway Row was born.
So instead of like Gorilla Zoe or Girl Talk, we were like, okay, like, fuck this. We love Wicked. Also, we love Legally Blonde, the musical.
I need to caveat that we were blackout drunk.
I mean, for most of college. Yeah. But so we were like, okay, well, fuck this. If we were going to do Row Week, what would we do? And it was Broadway Row.
It was Broadway
Cut
Row.
to me and Hunter dressed as Elphaba and Glinda. I wish. We never saw the idea through, but we loved to talk about it.
Oh, we loved to talk about it. We were like, and at Lambda Chi, Kristen Chenoweth performing For Good with Idina Menzel. I was like, and, you know, Pike, they feel like a Spring Awakening house.
Yes,
like they're going to be doing Spring Awakening in the Heights. Like we were literally planning every house as if it was a Broadway show. Honey, Broadway Row.
You talk about a pageant coordinator. They needed us to be coordinating the Row Week.
Like literally. So all that to say.
So good.
That was a founding pillar of our friendship that we still talk about to this day. And had we not been rejected from the fraternities.
Period. Like this friendship is, for me anyway, is very specific, like an effect of not getting into a fraternity because I was so hell-bent on getting into one and rushing. So my question to you is, did you rush at Arkansas? Because I actually don't
remember.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I was there before you.
Yeah.
First things first, let's buckle those belts, girl. Okay, so I did.
Okay.
But I originally, so, you know, I came out senior year to a lot of people. And I had made the decision. I'm like, no, like it feels good to start coming out. Like, I don't want to put myself back in a position where I'm going to go back into the closet. Mm-hmm. So going into college and going into freshman year, I had decided like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then my roommate freshman year, random assignment, ended up being someone from my hometown who was like,
oh, that's funny.
A big light. Like he is truly just a special human.
That's awesome.
And so that was like great. And I felt very comfortable around him. Like I kind of felt like he had my back and he, you know, would look out for me, whatever. And I let him convince me to rush. So I signed up late. Like I had already moved in and like let them convince me.
Dang.
So like I didn't
because it happens at the beginning of the school year typically.
Yes, before, well, sorority recruitment is before school even starts. So I didn't do, as forementioned, all of the shit that you need to do in order to get in because I was like the last minute addition. So yeah, going into college, I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And then peer pressure. Yeah. Look what happened all of a sudden. But again, I mean, everyone did.
Because it was such a huge part of, and the funny thing is, by the numbers, I think there were more GDIs than there were. I know. Which if you don't know, a GDI is a term for somebody that didn't rush or didn't get in a fraternity or sorority, and it stands for goddamn independent.
No, actually, because I was in student government, I know the exact percentage that it was. I think it was only 23%.
Is Greek life.
Yes. But
even though by the numbers, it is correct. Like not necessarily the majority, it feels as such because of the
presence on campus.
100%.
And let's make it very clear that in this episode, we are not here to give our opinion on whether Greek life is good or bad or say anything negative or we'll probably say negative stuff and positive stuff. But really what we want to talk about is like our experience with it as closeted queer gays from the South, because we were both in the closet when we went through that experience. And so you went through Rush, obviously.
I did. I graduated high school. Before I even graduated high school, I was like, I know I'm going to rush. I know what fraternity I want to be in.
Because in DeWitt, honey, those roots are deep.
Exactly. And like all the people that had gone to college at University of Arkansas that I knew really well, like did the fraternity sorority thing. And so I was hell bent on doing it. So even before I graduated, I was like making connections with people that I was networking, honey.
Well, as a gay does, bitch, you were like, I am getting into the one I want. You're like Elle Woods, like literally trying to, bitch. Is that my name? Up on that list.
If only Sigma Chi was Harvard.
You would have had a better chance of getting into Harvard.
But I was like invited to rush parties before college had even started. So like I remember someone telling me like you have to show up with something. So I bought a handle of Sky vodka that I was like knew I was I was coming to impress. I was pulling out all the Southern lady stops. I brought a date to the rush party.
Wait. A date?
A date. Well, it was my best friend.
I know, yeah.
Not a real
sister,
date. Yes.
A title holder.
A title holder.
A sister, a title holder.
But I was so the like deeper, darker side of it was I was just trying so hard to like fit into the culture that I was raised around and didn't know what University of Arkansas or college would look like without anchoring to some sort of identity that was Greek life. So it felt, to bring it back to the chicks, it felt very highest stakes.
Yes.
Like I know the highest stakes. Like if I don't get this, like my identity is going to fall apart and I have no idea what it's going to be
because ultimately that was going to set the path of your next 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's why going into college, I didn't want to do it because I was like, no, I know that this means another 4 years in the closet. And honey, I was like not ready for that. I was ready to be digged down. Right. I didn't want to go in the closet.
I knew I was gay for sure, but I was like, this is the only way. So I have to be a frat star.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is I went through like rush and everything and got cut from like everything besides like the one I really wanted and the one I didn't really want. And I remember the day before I called my mom, or I was talking to my roommates, I was like, oh my gosh, like I think I'm getting this fraternity and that my other roommate was going to get it too. And he was like, well, get ready. They're going to buzz your hair off.
Oh my God.
And I
freaked out.
Had a panic attack.
I mean, look at this hair.
That's what I'm saying. My hair.
Wait, who did you just say your hair icon was? Carol Brady?
Carol Brady. Yes. I'm giving a little Carol Brady with my flips. But I went white and like had a moment where I was like, oh my God, they're going to shave my head. They're going to shave my head. So I went down to like one of the like business centers in the dorm and called my mom. I was like, Mom, they're gonna shave my head tomorrow. I was so
what did Sue
freaked out.
Say?
She was like, well, hon, I don't know what to tell you.
Bitch, you signed up for
exactly.
This.
So I was so terrified of them shaving my head because, like Lady Gaga says, I am my hair.
I am my hair. Great song.
And so the next day, I get a call on the way to bid day, and it was the Panhellenic chair telling me that I did not get a bid, so I should return home. I didn't have to spare me the embarrassment.
Oh my God. Okay, so let's set the stage
for
what the actual process is like going through rush.
Yeah.
Because I think that like the intensity that you just described of like the hazing of whatever, like that is something that like as I've met other people in New York or when I lived in Chicago and would meet other gays and they're like, oh yeah, I'm in a fraternity, and I'd be like, oh, like what was your hazing like? I'm like, curious cat. I'm like, what was it like? It's kind of kinky, right?
Totally.
Like so kinky. And so but then they'd be like, oh, we didn't haze, whatever. And I'm like, baby girl, like at an SEC school, right? So to set the stage, like literally you go from house to house.
Yep.
And I remember
the handshaking, the amount of fucking,
oh my God.
It is like, that is kind of a triggering thing, is the like whole body handshake that you have to give at a SEC school.
And do you remember like some houses you go in and they're like fucking jumping on you?
Oh, honey, I was shaking on the inside.
I was literally about to shit my boat shoes. Like, wait.
Don't bring Sperry's into this.
Wait, speaking of, what did you wear?
What
did you wear? What did you wear to rush? Because
it's not what did I wear, it's what did everybody wear. Because why I was walking around campus in fucking Cole Haans drivers, I don't know.
God,
but no, literally like Cole Haans driving shoes, like not cargo shorts, because that would have definitely gotten you banned from a fraternity. But like Bermuda shorts, we'll say. And then like a Ralph Lauren with the pony, button down, rolled up sleeves. I'll never forget. It was I think it was before rush, and we were going to house all of my roommates and our friends. And we were walking down Maple, and we got catcalled by a group of girls. They were like, where you going, boys? Because we all had the same exact fucking outfit on in different shades of pastels. Like, okay, talk about what's queer coded about that. Bitches, y'all are wearing pastels.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Like, and in those days, it was like, that was the weird mind fuck, is that we grew up in the time where boys couldn't wear pink.
Yeah.
Fucked.
Yeah.
Fucked. Like,
I look best in pink.
I mean, honey, like you look good in every color.
Well, thanks.
Let's say that. But, so then it was like you go to these fraternities, and especially coming from little baby tiny towns, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well, all of these people are wearing pink, and it's, it's like even that, like going from farm life, basically, where wearing pink was like frowned upon, to then having the more elevated version, like the preppy, Southern. I remember I don't know where or when I got this, but I wore a blue Lacoste shirt, probably from like Gulf Shores, Alabama outlet mall.
Oh, it had to have been at the Foley outlets. It had to.
That's fucking exactly where it was from.
Yeah.
So I had this blue Lacoste shirt on. I had these like not khaki, but like gray shorts and the boat shoes. So like, I thought I was really doing something.
Well, you had to like color coordinate a little bit. One does want a touch of color, as he says in the birdcage.
One does love a touch of So I literally am dressed in this outfit, fucking trembling. Like, let's talk to me about what it felt like when you walked into the houses.
When I was thinking about this, the only way I could describe it to myself is, and like we talk about out of body experiences, but like it was truly like, I am a robot. I am not with my mind. I am not with my body. I am not acting as if I have any sort of ounce of personality besides, hey man, how you doing? Whatever. And I just remember being so terrified and like basically on the edge of trembling because I was like, I have to act the most masked version of myself. And because I also got to be on guard because I don't know if someone's going to pop out and jump over me. And like, I remember dudes getting tackled.
The Sigma Chi's were very known for that, I think.
It's so scary.
It happened to one of my friends too, and he like broke his arm.
Yes.
Like again, I want to reiterate the intensity of SEC frat culture because also my freshman year, like someone on campus, like had the highest recorded blood alcohol level that survived.
It's so fucked.
It was national news. Yeah. And then like that same year, like someone at Tennessee like almost died from butt chugging a beer, which is like
queer coded.
That's fucking queer. The gay
anything to put up something up your butt.
Honey, that was his way of coping.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, the intensity of it, and thinking back, like I don't even know if I can access this trauma anymore.
Yeah.
Like I was fucking terrified.
Yeah.
The only house that I felt a morsel of relief in and like felt like I could fucking take a breath was Lambda Chi. And that's because there were a lot of boys from Jonesboro and I had done the prom fashion show with a few of their sisters.
So you were well known. Okay.
Yeah,
the sisters.
The sisters. the title holders.
The title
of
holders.
It all. The sisters had told their brothers and like they kind of like made me feel safe. But god damn. Like
what did it feel like for you? Were you just like terrified or?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it was some of the scariest moments of my life.
Yeah.
To be around at that time, to be around 1 to 2 to 3 extremely heteronormative men, boys, whatever the fuck we were back then was enough. A house of hundreds of them. Actually, I will say too, one shout out to Taylor Douglas because I knew him from student council camp. Shout out to Taylor Douglas.
We love you, Taylor.
I knew him from student council camp. He was an SAE.
Yeah.
Big, scary house.
Yeah.
He also, big scary house. He also was so great to me through the Rush experience and later went on to give me his ID. I was Taylor Douglas before I turned 21.
Oh my God,
so
Taylor.
Taylor Douglas is an ally. That's an ally.
Yeah, it's also like when we're talking about intensity and like the terrifying level, it wasn't like they were doing like super scary things. It was just like so out of our norm of like super straight experience of like broing out hard and like
truly
was just not my vibe
because
at all.
Even if that's not the like overall vibe of the fraternity, that is what Rush feels like.
That's the expectation when you walk in. Like,
correct.
I was pleasantly surprised by a lot of people, and even in some of the houses that were more intense. Like, I found some of the guys that actually were like championing me and like very kind to me. But at the same time, it is just like so intensely straight, especially for somebody in the closet.
Yeah. If this tells you anything, I am like the horniest person on earth. I don't even remember finding them attractive because I wish I could go back and look because I was probably actually shaking.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even think that these men were hot. And there were some hot men.
Yeah, of course.
I couldn't even think that they were hot because I was so scared. But can we also talk about having to unlearn like my desire for like frat boys?
I mean,
bitch,
not hot anymore.
I mean, but I still have this like affinity for them, and I have to be like, nope, trauma.
Well, we've talked about this before, is like still holding on to the like straight crushes and the like having to, the only people that you could have crushes on because you had no access to gay community at the time was just a straight boy that is never gonna love you back.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so you obviously didn't get a bid.
Yeah.
You found out on the way there? Like, I thought, didn't Arkansas have a guaranteed bid system? Or was that only for sororities?
No, because I thought so hard that I was getting this one fraternity that the other fraternity cut me because they were like, where are you going? Where are you going? And so they like heard me being like passionate about it. Anyway.
Very passionate about Sigma Chi.
So passionate. And I remember walking, all of my roommates, we were like, yeah, all right, let's go to bid day. And I get a call on my Motorola flip phone. Or maybe I had a Crackberry at that time. But like I answered the call.
You didn't have an iPhone freshman year of college?
I don't think so. I don't think I got it until I was sophomore. But anyway,
let's talk about that.
Oh no, I was business casual, bitch. Of course I had a BlackBerry. It was on BBM.
You were literally scrolling on the Pearl.
It was a Pearl. Yeah.
Of course it was, because of course the gays had the Pearl.
Exactly.
I also had the Pearl, but in high school.
So obsessed. Anyway, so we're going down and I get a call on my phone and I pick it up and they're like, hey, like, you didn't get a bid today, but you can always try for...
Was it a man or a woman on
It was
the
a
line?
woman.
That feels at least a little reassuring.
Yeah. And she was like, you didn't get a bid, but you can definitely try for fall rush or spring rush. And I remember being like, hey guys, actually I left something back at the dorm.
No.
I need to go back.
That because it's
my
like...
heart definitely sunk because the night before I was getting like in the like super sacred, intense brotherhood ceremony at pref night or whatever. Like I was walking out and all these people were patting my back. And like, I was like, okay, this is like reassurance. And then I didn't get it. So my heart sunk. And so I went to Popeye's Chicken and ate my sorrows away at Popeye's. God,
do you remember what you ordered?
I mean, I'm always getting the 4-piece strip.
Okay, great. Oh my God.
Mild, not spicy.
I just want to hold space for this.
Well, thank you for holding space.
No, because literally when you've built this thing up, right? And like when it is, again, I cannot stress enough how insular these tiny towns that we grew up in are. And so when that is what everyone you've known has done, you center your world around it. And then when it doesn't happen, fuck, like I can feel that.
What was your interaction to understanding that did you not get a bid or did you get a bid? Like what was the process?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So senior year of high school and into the summer after, I was coming out, but I was also in a phase of extreme religion. And that really fucked me up. Okay. And I experienced a lot of religious trauma the summer after senior year. And we'll save that for another episode because we're going to need hours. But so I was, starting to come out. I had this, like light at the end of the tunnel senior year. And then that summer, I had some like extreme religious cult-like trauma that happened. Yeah. And, just really put me in a really weird headspace of like, I had been told that I could pray the gay away and that this was my one great sin and I could overcome it. Woo! And that, everyone has their one great sin and, all of these things. And there was a part of this where I was like sitting in the middle of a room And all of these youth ministers had their hands on me and were like exercising me essentially.
Yeah.
And coming out of that, I had like this immense panic and immense anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation and all of the things. And so I was in this really weird headspace where like, it was like the angel and the devil for real, even though I don't believe in either, because I was like, okay, I got a taste of this life, so much so that I decided to come out to my youth minister. Like, that's how comfortable I was starting to feel. And then that happened the summer going into college. And then I go freshman year, and that set me back a little, I think. I'm actually now, I'm connecting these dots now that like, I had made up my mind at one point that I wasn't going to go through Rush and I was going to come out. And then Church of Christ fucks me up. And I'm like, well, maybe, you know, I'm still trying to hold on to this like relationship with God and religion and whatever. And I'm like literally miserable, frankly, like just destroyed. And so I go freshman year, and easily my roommates convince me because
you're in a vulnerable state and you're looking for community. You're looking for friendship. So of course, that's how you get
my desire to go to college and like bust the doors down and become the flaming faggot that I am today were stripped from me a little bit because of my experience with the church. And so so I go through Rush, and as mentioned, I had a few allies in some of the houses, and I got cut from all of the like major houses the first day because I didn't do any of the things before. But like I still had a few houses that I was like, I could see myself here. Like I could be, you know, happy here, you know, in my fucking freshman twin ass bed, like convincing myself that this can be a happy life. If I do this, you know, probably making a list of the things that would be good and the things that would be bad, and type A hunter, really over analyzing everything. And so I think it was like, it wasn't pref night, it was the night before, whatever that is. And I had like 2 houses left that I was like, yes, I will go through with this if I, you know, get one of these houses. But if I don't get one of these houses, then I'm not going to do it. And so I said to myself that I would pray about it and pray on it, speak on it, put it on the prayer list of the church.
Oh, honey.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to pray about this. And if I get if I get cut from these 2 houses, then that's the sign that I should come out of the closet. And if I get these 2 houses, then it's meant for me to be on this path. And it's meant for me to join this fraternity and fight this battle and blah, blah, blah. And so really, I guess God made me gay because plot twist, I got cut. My prayer was answered.
Answered prayers.
And, what I was trying to sing, unanswered. But anyway, so like literally, but that is the mind fuck that I was in during that phase of my life, that I was like, God knows the answer. And I guess if there is a God, he did, because I didn't get a bid to either of those fraternities. By Thanksgiving, I was prancing around campus out of the closet, and I spared myself. Listen, would there have been enjoyable things about being in a fraternity? Absolutely.
And there are for a lot of people that are going through it.
100%. Big party girl. Would have been like, talk about a social chair, honey.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Whatever frat I ended up with would have thrown the best parties. We would have had the best punch. We would have taken care of the girlies. No one would have had to be stressed in, you know, that house. But it didn't happen. And it's so funny looking back now. And honestly, that's a deep trauma that, again, I don't always have access to. Overall, like, again, would I have had fun? Yes. But, you know, it did send me on the path that got me here faster, right? Because joining a fraternity would have just delayed the inevitable. I did think a lot about, like, there has to be gay shit going on in those houses.
Absolutely.
Like, there has to be.
The one I want to tell you, I found out months later why I didn't get a bid. I was at that fraternity house that didn't give me a bid at a party that I got invited to by a sorority girl. And one of the guys that was championing me, he was like, hey man, I'm so sorry that you didn't get a bid. Like I was really rooting for you. And it just was bad how it all went down. I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? What was bad that went down? He goes, well, we were, going over the
I'm scared.
The potential people that could be in the fraternity.
P&M, potential new member.
Yeah, as a P&M. And we were going through your Facebook profile photos.
Was it Turnblad?
No. That was never a photo. But for my senior trip, me and my best friend, we went to Cabo and we swam with dolphins. and my profile picture was a dolphin kissing me on the cheek.
That's what got you cut from Sigma Chi?
Because it was like too gay, I guess. And so the photo, he was like, yeah, that photo. And I was like, what photo? He was like, yeah, you had a photo of a dolphin kissing you on the cheek.
No, Tucker. It was the fucking dolphin's
Yes.
fault?
And so then I went up to my friend at that party and I was like, well, I found out why I didn't get a bid is because of the fucking dolphins we swam with. And
I also really envision you when he said we were rooting for you, you going into immediate tirade. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Learn from this. Well, did you? Have you swam with dolphins since?
Oh, I haven't swam with dolphins since, but let me tell you, my identity has been totally crumbled and rebuilt to something that it never could have been before if I had been in fraternity.
And honestly, cheers to fucking that, because that is what happened. And it's interesting. I need to take a drink. It's interesting, too, because you said, like, you were at a party at the frat house that you didn't get into.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second, because we've established we were GDIs.
Yep.
We didn't get in. We, had to go about our lives, right? And at this time, we're 18 years old.
Yeah.
We're on a college campus where predominantly the party culture was centered around Greek life.
Yeah.
And
that's like the easiest access to a party was through a fraternity or a sorority.
Yes, exactly. And so fast forward, we didn't get in. Talk about that. Like, what was that like for you? Did you still go to the parties? Did you?
Well, it really was like a restructuring period for me because it was, and like just to be clear could have been at that time of my life probably the most important thing that could have happened to me.
Yeah, I feel that too. Like I literally feel that would have changed the trajectory of my life in a major way.
And because I had built everything around like, okay, like my life is going to be built around this, but I was like, okay, well, now I have to try something else. And so I made my first friend that I made in college. I met her on the very first day of class at school. This is like going into rush. And she also didn't get into a sorority. And so all of her friends were in sorority. And so while everybody else was at chapter on Mondays, we were at the quads having dinner. And so we called that our chapter.
Did you go to the pasta station?
Oh, absolutely. Build your own pasta. Yes.
And the Chick-fil-A at the Union.
Oh, gosh.
I digress.
But through Catherine, like I was really able to like find someone who made me feel totally comfortable and like would drop. This is prior to me coming out to her. She would drop references about her gay friend and all of this. And she was and we connected on
She was cueing to you that you can be
this is a safe
your
space.
Whole self. And fucking thank God for people like Catherine.
Exactly.
Like, thank God.
And so through her, like she still had a lot of friends that were in sororities. And so I ended up hanging out with her and her friends who happened to all be KDs, which is ultimately how you and I met. And I really did get to like rethink how I wanted to be. And it put me on a path that was like, okay, now you can be yourself. You have someone in your life right now who's allowing you to be the most gay version of yourself, even though you're a little too scared to say it right now. She's creating that space for you. And
those people we cannot stress enough are the most important people to young queers.
Oh.
I mean, I can't. I know Catherine, and she was that for me too. When I met her. And for me, like I was in a similar position because I was like, okay, well, what now? And that is, I got into volleyball and I played club volleyball.
How hilarious is that? Like you're still doing it today.
Literally. Honey, the gay league. Alive and well. But yeah, I started playing volleyball and that was like my little fraternity or whatever. And some of the people that I played with, Kendall.
Yes, Kendall, another title holder.
Talk about a title holder. I mean, the title holder of our lives, these women. And so, but then it's interesting because it kind of like, it's like there's this brief moment where we're out. We're excluded. We're not going to the parties, whatever. We're, on our own, whatever. And then slowly we are reintroduced through the title holders.
Exactly.
We're officially calling them title holders, our little pageant girlies, our title holders.
Our girls.
But we're reintroduced. And so then we start going back to the place that rejected us, right? Do you have any specific like memories or like traumas from being at like a frat party or anything that happened like with a sorority girly? But
luckily I never had, this is kind of a little traumatic. I definitely like not gotten a bid. It may have been I think it was a different time, but I was at the same house again. I kept going back for more.
Well, because that also as you said, like everyone from DeWitt was in that DeWitt. DeWitt
if you're from there, DeWitt if you're everybody else.
DeWitt.
Yeah.
So you had connections there regardless of your status.
And I was still friends with those people. And so like sometimes they would let me come over. And I remember just going, I was like, I've given up on the fraternity thing. I have other friends, but I'm happy to be hanging out with hometown people. And I was having the tea of my L at the party, dancing, whatever. Yeah. And one of my really close friends, who, just to be clear for everything I'm about to say, is like still a close friend and was looking out for me, period, because she knew the circumstance that I was in and the environment that I was in and that it wasn't a safe space.
Right.
And she pulled me aside and she was like, hey, I see you're having fun, but I do want you to know, like, I think it might be better if you tamp it down a little bit. Like
that hurts me.
It hurt, and it wasn't her telling me
she did not want you to tamp it down. She knew what was happening around. Right. And that's a sister. That's a title holder.
She is a title holder to this day, like one of my like lifetime best friends. And
I love that. Shout out to her.
But she was looking out for me, and it hurt my feelings. And I remember kind of walking back to the main courtyard and just being like, okay, now I have to be a shell of myself.
Well, how you go right back to that little gay boy that walked into those doors during Rush, and you're trembling.
Yeah.
And your heart aches and you are scared to even fucking move.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I mean, there are 2 times. One I vaguely remember, but it was a very similar situation where I actually went to a frat house, and it was a similar thing where it was like, you're a little too gay right now. Because I was out to some people, right? So like I was a gay in the house.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, I never went back like after that.
Me either. I was like, okay, well, this is the final straw.
Yeah. And then there was one other time. It wasn't at a frat house, but it was in a garage, as it is, a pregame.
Yes,
a pregame for Grab a Date and Disco Skate.
Oh, no.
We're going to get into the functions of it all, but when I tell you that I left that skating function bruised from head to toe, fucked me up. But I was with Kendall.
Yeah.
A title holder of my life. Love her. And we were playing beer pong. And it was some other sorority girls and like a few frat boys at the other end of the beer pong table. And I remember seeing the, like, is he...
Oh,
is
like
he,
you don't even need to hear the words coming out of the mouth, but you can see the glances.
I knew it. Yep. And Kendall, again, looking the fuck out, caught that was happening and screams across the table and says, "What? Is he gay? Yeah, and he's fucking incredible." And I was like, I like lit up in that moment, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't have to, like, I couldn't say it. I still couldn't say it.
Yeah.
I could say it to Kendall.
Yeah.
when we were, together and we were, in a safe space in this fucking garage, probably in the goddamn cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Shout out to the fucking cul-de-sac.
Many a party.
I couldn't say it and she said it for me. And that is another memory that is a tattoo on my little gay heart because I didn't have to do it. She did it for me and I'll never forget it. And you want to know what's funny?
Tell me.
One of the girls on the other end of the table, her sister is now lesbian. So
deal with that.
The universe.
Exactly. Truly.
And we love her.
Yeah.
And, again, too, I think like one of the things that I think about is like this evolution in this college experience, in this like bubble that we're put in, right? The evolution of how we were treated.
Yeah.
And I think that is something where I feel like it was kind of like a roller coaster because in the beginning, it was very much not the vibe, right? No one other than the sorority girls wanted the gays around, but the fraternity boys, they were still in their like homophobic brain, even if they were also gay.
Yeah.
And so there's a part of me where I like, at the time, it cut me so deep.
Yeah.
It hurt. It was so scary. Coming out on the other end of it, and with some of the relationships and friendships that I built after those early years, I do give them a little bit of grace that also they were assimilating and also they were doing what everyone was around them was doing, and they didn't have the tools to stand up, or they were probably in a lot of ways scared, but in different ways.
Absolutely. I even think like back to my friends that did get in the fraternities, and like obviously we didn't hang out as much because they were living in the fraternity houses after that, and of course our paths just went in different ways, but we would go back to Z-Bar and run into each other, and not even that often. But I even think like looking then to now, like honestly, the relationships maybe haven't necessarily gotten deeper, but they've gotten richer because they're more meaningful, because there is distance, because you see people doing the things that they should be doing and in the environments they thrive in.
Well, and my hope is that they're all also in therapy and they realize all of their toxic traits and how fucked up it is. But it does feel like there was this like arc of like pre-21-year-old or fake ID drinking age going to the bar versus post, because again, the social life happened in a lot of ways in the frat houses or whatever. And then once we were all 21 and we were all going back to the bars, we were like all back together again.
Exactly.
And that's where I feel like it kind of had this evolution. And there was this like, okay, these people have grown up a little bit. Yeah. Again, I'm not sitting here trying to give frat boys too much credit,
right?
But there are some that, really deserve a lot of credit. I remember, I was an RA and there was a group of boys from Kansas City. Talk about hot boys. I could
City boys.
Yeah, I could tell they were hot from day one. And I was their RA and they were the best fucking people, right? And like they were so great. And like, so many other people that just like as we got older and kind of let all of that go. Cause I think that's the other thing. Like when I think about my core group of friends, by the time we were seniors, they didn't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
They were not still in the thick of it.
Right.
Like it was like, oh, this is what it is. Yeah. And we did it and it was fun, but it wasn't like the defining, thing.
Because those are like early years of college. You're really trying to set the tone for what the next year is going to be like. And you're trying to build it's constant just like practicing for making something better or building up for the next year. And it's just so funny.
I know. Well, because then I feel like we transition from like only having the girlies on our side to having like a little army of like straight fraternity boys that were like willing to fight. Like I remember at a friend's wedding, like right after college, the uncle of the groom called me a faggot, and like 6 of the fraternity boys that were there were like ready to take him down.
So to that point, what I was thinking of too is obviously we've talked a lot about like the homophobia that still exists and like the prejudice that still exists in a fraternity for people who are trying to apply that may not fit the mold or the stereotype. But I will say, got to give credit to some of the frat boys who it did benefit to teach them how to be, I don't know if gentleman is the right word, but know how to remember your friendships and be a man in the sense that you are willing to like say hello and be courteous to people that you have relationships with prior.
Yeah, which like such a low bar for men.
True. I mean,
like,
right.
Say that.
But I will say, like, hopefully, if anything, they took away from being exposed to all kinds of different men around them. It was like how to extend a freaking handshake.
Or I mean,
that's not shaking my whole body and trying to get me to join the fraternity just to freaking say hello.
Well, I think like there are people popping into my mind when you talk about this of like the ones that like were true friends, like became true friends. Shout out to Thick Dick. We love Thick Dick. The way
his reputation precedes him.
I mean, the way one that I the whole time knew his dick was thick, and maybe that's actually but also just like such a good human, and like literally just like they became safe spaces also, and it did tear down some of the walls that I had built up around like men and around heterosexual men.
And also just to say good for them for not assimilating too far into the culture to be able to
not come out on the other side.
Yes, exactly. And to stand up for people for their friendship rather than just the standards of what it is to be a frat member.
Correct. Which like, let's all get in therapy. Yeah. And let's all take better care of those around us from the beginning. But, you know, that's a different episode. Maybe even a different podcast, public health access. But, you know, you got to talk about the real evolution is that I went from being scared of them to fucking a few of them.
I mean, tell me more, please. Will you tell me about that?
I thought you'd never ask. Well, that was like the mindfuck of it all when I tell you that I had to like unlearn this like love of frat boys. But the first time it ever happened, oh my God, I was so caught off guard because we were on our way home from formal, and for some reason there had been formal in like Springdale. Like, why the fuck were we going to Springdale for a formal? For those of you listening, Springdale is like 20 minutes from where we went to college. Anyway, blackout.
Yeah.
Again, on the bus home, and because they had gotten charter buses, and we, on the way there, like everyone had a seat because whatever. But then at the end of the night, everyone's cramming onto this bus. So my date is sitting on my lap, and there's a guy sitting next to me, and his date is sitting on his lap. Do you see? I'm getting weak already talking about it.
I forgot about this story as well.
Okay. So he's sitting next to me, his date on his lap. All of a sudden, I feel a hand on my leg.
Oh my God, this is so Pride and Prejudice. I feel like this is so like provincial.
I feel a hand on my leg, and I'm like, okay, it's just because we're sitting so close. Yeah. Whatever. All of a sudden, the hand is like rubbing my leg. And mind you, this is senior year, so I'm like, out. Yeah. Honey, out.
Yeah.
And so I tap my date, and I'm like, girl, I think he's touching my leg. Yeah. Like, I think he's touching my leg. And of course, a sister, a title holder, she's like, maybe he is. Like, see what happens. So Blackout Hunter is like, I'm going to touch his leg. You know, and which obviously, like, just touching a leg made me rock hard in those days. Yeah. Talk about, like, sexually deprived, honey. Getting my hookups from fucking Craigslist back then. And so I'm literally touching his leg, and then we start talking. Yeah. We talked. And we did.
I'm telling you, we're moving into, like, this is getting romantic.
I mean, I was in love.
Yeah.
I was in love. The first person that showed me attention, in love.
This is a meet cute.
Yes. So we start chatting on our 20-minute jaunt from Springdale, and we get off the bus, and all of the girls are going into the house. And he grabs me and he's like, hey, can I ask you a question? And I was like, oh God, he's going to ask me if I'm gay. Don't you already know this? And then he's like, no, come back here. Pulls me to the other side of the bus and says, can I kiss you?
Oh my God. Like, also, like, I don't know. It's feel like it's also this moment of like, you've wanted somebody to like ask to kiss you where you've like, whereas before it's been premeditated, like we're going to hook up, we're going to do this, but like,
and I knew it would be terrible and I knew it wouldn't be what I wanted. And I knew that it would be with someone that like I literally found on Craigslist and like was scared to let into my home and all of these things because the Craigslist killer, obviously. But then it's like, oh my God, I, Hunter Poole, am at a formal and someone wants to kiss me here. Talk about revolutionary. So we make out behind the bus. Great. Then we like are like, okay, well, let's hang out, like whatever. So we exchange numbers. He's obviously clearly very blackout if he's making out with me behind the bus in the parking lot of his girlfriend's sorority house.
Well, just tapping into some inner desires.
Yeah. You know, I was his safe space.
Exactly. You did. Yes.
So anyway, later that night, we go to Z-Bar, which for those of you listening, Z-Bar was the late night spot. Yeah. It was like where everyone went. It was also where everything good and bad happened.
Yeah.
And we were standing on the patio and he kept texting me and like telling me that he was into me and like all of this stuff and that he wanted to meet up. And you know, my little gay ass, I was like, well, prove it.
Yeah.
Kiss me right here on the patio.
Yeah.
And we didn't make out, but he did kiss me. And I was like, oh, a kiss at Z-Bar.
I mean, honestly,
that wasn't with a sorority girl.
I mean, you got to be careful. Gossip Girl is out there. Like...
Well, Gossip Girl came out because let me tell you how it ended. Well, first, okay, so then that happened. We were texting all the time. I was in love for like, when I say all the time, like 3 days.
Yeah.
Obviously. And then one time, you remember Jose's karaoke?
Yeah.
So Wednesday night, Jose's karaoke, I get there because I was a regular and I see him and we went in the bathroom and I sucked his dick at Jose's.
Oh my God. It's been years since I've heard this story from front to back.
Yeah. And then later, I mean, he kissed me.
Yeah.
At fucking Z-Bar. And then later I got a message on Facebook Messenger from his girlfriend that was like, hey, I heard that you kissed my boyfriend at formal. I was just wondering if you could like tell me if that was true or not.
Oh, shit.
And obviously other people saw these things happen. And so I just said, I think that's a conversation that you should have with him.
Yeah, period.
Yeah. But anyway, the other time, this one also kind of came out of nowhere. And, you know, he was of the friend circle and we were at Z-Bar and it was like late senior year. And like, I don't even remember how it came up. Probably I was pushing it, to be honest. And we left the bar together and his roommate, who I also loved, was an ally, and his roommate's girlfriend, who also loved an ally, like drove us home. And then we literally hooked up with them there. It was like, obviously we're fucking.
Right.
But then that all blew up because people found out. And then I was not the one telling people, remember how we got home.
Yeah.
And, you know, so that all came out. And then he like talked shit about me at Z-Bar. Again, fuck, everything was happening at Z-Bar. We need a reality show about
If you're
Z-Bar.
not at Z-Bar, you're only getting half the story.
So I ultimately, like, he called me a faggot. And I was like, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
I topped you.
Yeah.
Who's the faggot now?
Cut to him hooking up with one of our friends months later.
Oh my God. I fucking forgot. Oh my goddamn God.
Yeah. I
forgot.
I know. That's another crucial element to the story.
Fuck. Oh my God. So yeah.
Speaking of
crucial
elements to the story, and
let's go.
The girls who are connecting us to everything are the sorority girlies and also not the sorority girlies. Yes. Who got us through it and held our hands and stood the fuck up for us.
I mean,
like Kendall, like Catherine, like Lee,
and
like Kate.
Lisa, Kate. I mean, I could go on forever. My friend Annie.
Yeah.
She was the one that would buy me booze because she was older.
Yes.
Kaylin.
Yes, Kaylin.
Oh, my little angel.
Yes.
Like, God, I mean, truly. And so that was like, I mean, talk about a safe queer space. We may have gotten cut from fraternities, but honey, we would have ran rush or recruitment.
Oh my God. Absolutely. Well, the thing is, like, we had better access to everything because of the girls rather than if we had been in the fraternity.
Oh my God. Yes. We were living our best lives, especially during the, like, call it like the bars days.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, always out with our squad of girls.
Like, they were really being a support system for us, but not even a support system, but just like fucking thick as thieves.
Yeah. And I mean, how do you think I know that he has a thick dick?
Because of a sorority sister.
Because of a title holder.
I mean, well, so we keep saying title holders because these are the pageant queens of our lives. Yeah. If they weren't Little Miss Arkansas County, they were Little Miss stood up for Hunter at the fucking beer pong
Little
table.
Miss grab a date and disco skate beer pong table slay sister.
And that is a title holder.
Yes, we did. We have had some offline discussions, our rants calling our title holder. So that is what we mean with these iconic, beautiful, fierce women who still ride for us today.
Absolutely.
Like, honestly, going to the functions, like, that was enough. When I think about, like, joining a fraternity or joining, not joining, like, so background, the fraternities had parties at their houses mostly, and then sororities would have functions, like Halloween or whatever. And so they could bring anyone. Yeah. And girl, we were always on the invite list.
Absolutely.
I was Kappa Delta housebow.
I mean, okay, let's talk about that being fucking... I don't know if that's queer coded, but it is definitely saying something
queer coded to be the houseboat.
That like a gay man can be like a sorority's like prince.
I was on the composite. I'm still on the composite right next to Mom Mimi. Talk about things that are queer coded. I mean, when I think about things in fraternities that are queer coded, my mind automatically goes to like hazing is kinky. Like, there's a part of me now that's like consensually
sure, of course,
being hazed in different ways. And also like the gay for pay, like porn, like the frat porn was like my early porn that I was watching. And actually, there was a girl that was friends with my sister and she was dating this guy and it was like uncovered. I think he was from Brinkley.
Oh, okay.
And it was uncovered that he was like living in a house in Hawaii, filming adult content. Bitch, it was gay for pay porn. It was like a frat house.
So he was cleaning up.
Honey, and you think that when he came back, I wasn't
like,
hello.
Hey.
So like
sliding in the
that's
DMs.
what I think of when I think of like the queer coded parts of like a frat. But a sorority, the sisterhood, the camaraderie, the fucking cheers, like how many cheers and things do we do? And the fucking themed parties.
Oh my gosh.
Honey.
I always loved a theme party, but because I had good friends that were in sororities, I got to go to the best of the best theme parties and also dress like I wanted to in the costume that I wanted to.
Be yourself.
Oh my God. And have so much fun because it did feel like, oh, I have access because I've gotten this
I'm safe
invite.
here, bitch.
Yes,
I'm
exactly.
on the list and this party.
Exactly.
And I'm looking fierce. Kendall, okay, 2 costume stories actually. One, a costume that I didn't want to wear. Anna, first friend in college, title holder of my entire existence, would not be who I am without her. We met on the bus to orientation and she called me Jono from Bono. First friend in college. Hey, Jono from Bono, how's it going? Like literally writing up. So we became friends and she invited me to my first ever function. And I think it was the Halloween function.
Yeah.
And we were the birds and the bees. And we pre-gamed in the dorm room with Apple Pucker and like Red Hot and Jose Cuervo tequila.
God, you were just drinking schnapps.
A stoplight shot, red, yellow, green.
Oh, God.
She handmade the costumes. I was wearing a fucking styrofoam beak, a black t-shirt with feathers all over it that literally went all over campus.
Yeah.
Looked like so dumb. And she was in a cute bumblebee outfit, and I was looking like a busted up Big Bird.
And she never did it again.
And
she learned her lesson.
Well, Anna went on to like date other people, and I didn't get the invites for her every time. So then I got the invites from Kendall.
Yeah.
Kendall was a serious costume, an atelier, if you will. Bitch, we went all out. And I remember one time we were Beauty and the Beast, and someone thought we were like the Lion, the Witch, and the Warlock or something. She tore through that party drunk. I can't believe, or like Narnia. No, it was Narnia. She was like, I can't fucking believe these people think we're Narnia. We're clearly Beauty and the Beast. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Like going up to everyone, like reading them down. And that is why I'm so passionate about our themes in Fire Island.
Oh, you have to be. And something about a theoretical costume or like a costume around an idiom. I went with two of my besties, Katie and Lee, and they invited me both. We went as a throuple.
How progressive of
you.
Honestly.
And so we went as the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And Katie dressed in gold as the sun. Katie dressed in a sheet with holes in it. My friend Lee dressed as the son, and I dressed as a dad. And I wore a sweater that said #1 dad. And like I had a mustache. Honestly, it was giving. And yes. I mean, hello, I transformed into that person.
You are dad now.
And
you are the father of queer coded country.
Exactly. So we just had like the most fun, and also like pushing the limits of like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it was a costume then.
Exactly.
Right? It's still, but yeah. Oh my God. So fun. But also, can we talk about Chicken Finger Friday?
I mean,
tell the people what Chicken Finger Friday is.
So the sorority houses, most all of them had a like open house lunch on Fridays.
But then it got too big and you had to be invited.
So, and typically most of the houses did like chicken fingers, mashed potatoes, fries, corn, Southerners
corn
all
nuggets,
would get out.
I think one house. Do you remember Kaio had the cookie dough just out in the tub, and you could just get a scoop of raw cookie
love
dough?
Salmonella.
The epitome of health and wellness.
But I love that Katie did it different, and they had Fiesta Fridays.
Fiesta Friday. Okay, I'm hard.
Yeah,
I gotta sit up a little more.
Those enchiladas.
Oh my God. Okay, so Fiesta Friday, also another history lesson. Not history. It's still there. A lesson of Arkansas culture is that we didn't have queso, we had cheese dip.
Yes.
And it's like white American cheese and like creamy like milk, and it's like runny. And they had an endless supply of cheese dip. You know what I would do? Because by senior year, I had my squad of girlies. Sure. I would start at the Kappa Delta house with like Kendall, Kate, Lee, everyone. And I would have an appetizer of chips and dip. Yeah. Chips and cheese dip. I would make my way to Tried Out with Sophie, and I would specifically have the spicy chicken tenders.
Oh, that's what they all had something different.
And mashed potatoes and gravy, I think, was the vibe at Tried Out. And then I would move up to Kaio with Kaylin, and I would have the mac and cheese and the cookie dough.
The mac and cheese was good there.
The fucking mac and cheese was so good. Shout out to Kaio.
Yeah.
And that was my Friday. Did I go to class? No. Did I eat good?
Absolutely.
Yes. Was I hungover? Yes. Was I wearing chacos and a oversized tank top and shorts? Yes. Was it the happiest Friday of my life when it was nice out and I got to house? It's like bar hopping, but fried food hopping.
I mean, I loved Fridays because I had a standing invite at Chicken Finger Friday. Me and Alexis, my cousin, another title holder, another protector. She would always invite me, and I would always go to Chicken Finger Friday, and then I'd go for my shift at the University of Arkansas student ambassador office.
You were fueled up.
Talk about chacos. I was walking backwards in my chacos.
You were fueled up from Chicken Finger Friday, ready to go around, tell people about how to join a frat.
Yes, exactly. Greek life is important here, but important, not a huge thing.
I wouldn't recommend having dolphin pictures in your profile.
Word to the wise.
If you've got dolphin photos in your profile, take them down now. That's like you were supposed to be telling like the history of the senior walk, and you're like, the dolphin photos got to go, honey. I can see your little
Girl,
get your golf and
talk about networking. That's why I was in business casual. Every day was a job interview.
Yeah, literally. No, God. I mean, those were the fucking days.
To put everything on a finer point,
yeah.
What would you say?
I think my parting shot is that you can find community anywhere.
Yeah.
And what you think is the community that you want to be a part of or you feel like you need to be a part of it, that's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, I don't feel shame that I wanted to be a part of that or whatever. Yeah. But I think that the most beautiful communities are the ones that you stumble upon and the ones that you kind of just find. I think of that even in my gay experience. I think a lot of queer people experience this in the South, especially when you come out and you're suddenly gay.
Yeah.
Well, when you're gay, you're gay. And then it's like, well, gay people do this, so I must do this thing that I've seen gay people do and put myself in this box. And now I'm in this gay community and this is how they behave. But the reality is that's a huge disservice to queer people because we are so nuanced and we are so complex. Everyone is complex, but especially queer people. And there's not one way to be anything. Not one way to be queer. There wasn't one way to be a sorority girl. There wasn't one way to be a fraternity boy. And so I think my parting shots are that, you know, you might find community in places that you didn't expect it.
Yeah.
And also that I think we should take fraternity, put the thing down, flip it and reverse it and start a queer coded country fagternity.
I'd love to be banner chair and paint the banners. But I think my parting shot is I've been Russian all my life. And
fuck. You are emotionally intelligent, girl.
I'm trying to be. But literally, like, when I think about Rush, and I not only think about my experience, I think about people who are going through it to actually, like, to find community, like a lot of us are at that time. But a lot of it is going to these different houses that have different stereotypes. And this is kind of like the queer coded journey of it is you're trying on different versions of yourself to see what fits, what feels right, what feels authentic. And for a lot of people, they did find that in Greek life. And I could not be more thankful for people that do find their community so early on. But it is also like that experience really taught me how to be able to figure out what feels right for me and to know when something feels inauthentic or authentic. And the last thing I'll say is something that I apply to a lot of different aspects on my life, especially when I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to order on Uber Eats, is it's just as important to figure out what you don't want as it is what you do want. So now let's get into Yeehaw and Yes Queen.
Oh, yeah. I think it's time.
Yeah.
I think that we really are gonna...
There's probably a lot of material.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah. All right. What's first up?
One.
Blackberry Pearl. Yes, Queen.
Yes, Queen. Yes.
No arguments.
No, like, end of sentence. Like literally, if you were gay and you had a Blackberry, it was the Pearl.
And why did I want it? Because it had all these business features. Again, I was prepping for a job interview every day as if I was using some of these features. File systems, what was I doing with those? Nothing.
Yeah, literally.
Ringtones.
Yeah. Ring back tones.
Period.
Yeah, that's Yes Queen. No questions asked.
Yep.
Frat boys. Well, the ones I fucked were Yes Queen.
Oh my gosh, especially behind that bus. They are the exception to the rule, which I'm going to say frat boys are typically yeehaw because of just how ingrained frat culture is in Southern culture.
Yeah.
And especially coming from such a country part of America. And it really is like, you got duck hunting land?
Yeah.
Like that was a status symbol.
Yeah. You want to know what I think?
What?
I think frat boys in the moment that they're in the frat don't know who the fuck they are.
Yeah.
And therefore, I don't know if they're yeehaw or yes queen. And I would like to circle back on this question once they've been in therapy.
Great answer. Dolphin kisses!
Dolphin kisses! Dolphin kisses!
Dolphin kisses right here, right now. They are yes queen. And I had the time of my life on that Cabo San Lucas trip. And I made the best friends from Canada. And I had so much fun swimming with those dolphins.
And
It cost me a membership in a fraternity, and thank God for that, to quote stepmom.
Bitch, say that. Let's end there. And are we better at this? We
can try.
We tap. Or no, we cheers,
clink, tap. Y'all come back. Okay. No, okay. Ooh. Y'all come back now, you queer.
Fuck, that was a lot. I really feel mindful. Queer Coded Country is created and hosted by Hunter Poole and Tucker Travis. Produced and edited by Sammy Junio.